Welcome back to the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker on this October 7th, 2020. If you want to reach us, feel free to contact us at qsblawoffices@google.com or on Twitter. You can use the handle at qsblawoffices or yell really loud and maybe we'll hear you. We're going to start our 15th client today. 15th, wow, crazy. And the 15th client is, with friends like you, who needs friends? And this will be an exploration of the levels of friendship there are out there and whether, you need friends at all. So, Greg, what would you like to say about this client with friends like you? Who needs friends?
Well, I think we definitely need friends. Everyone needs friends. No matter how, what a loner you are. Every now and then you're a human being. You're going to get lonely, want to talk to someone. But, I think friendship is something like in movies and stuff that's more ballyhooed. Is that a good term?
Ballyhooed
is more.
I like all your archaic terms these days. Throwing out rapscallion.
It's more balderdash than it is ballyhoo in my book. It seems
just a
like
lot
it's
of malarkey, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's so revered and elevated, if you will. Where I think a lot of friends are just basically acquaintances that are there because it's easy. And they're not really
I know we went into this topic mainly because I constantly say that I have no friends. And people always argue with me and disagree with me, and they try to pretend that they're actually my friend. So I figured...
They try to pretend that you're...
Yeah, they say that they're my friend, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. I knew a guy who would say that I was his best friend, and I definitely was not his best friend. And it was the strangest thing because he would go, "This is my best friend." I'm like, we're friendly, but. And then when finally we had a conversation one day when I tried to explain, I'm like, "Well, what do you think a best friend is?" And I said, because it should be like the person that you go to if you're having a major problem in life and you have like heart-to-heart conversations. And I'm like, we're friendly, but I've never had that with you. I've never even been to your house. I've never, we have not been that close. And then from that point on, he never referred to me as that.
Would you even say you were his friend? If somebody impressed you?
I would say that we had a friendship of a sort. It wasn't a great friendship, but he had been to my place. He had helped me out with a move before. So
could it have been that you were his best friend from his perspective? Just he wasn't your best friend from your perspective.
I think that once I had that conversation with him, he realized that there are other people that he would consider to be best friends, more so than me.
So you weren't just dumping him, basically?
Nah, I wasn't getting rid of him. It was just more like, I don't know. I went through life calling lots of people friends, and then finally I looked at it and I went, God, I'm like, why would I say this person's my friend when I never really figured out what that categorization meant? So I found apparently there's lots of different levels of friendship that are out there, and different people have different ideas of what those things can be. There's like stages. People can have there's 5 stages of friendships, and there's 3 levels of friendship, and then there's types of friends. So I figure we start off with sometime in 350 BC, some Greek philosopher stated there was 3 types of friendships, which are friendships of utility, friendships of pleasure, and friendships of the good. And that's one way of looking at it. And then
what was that last one? Friendships of the good?
Friendships of the good.
Which means what?
I don't know. What do you want it to mean, Greg?
That they do good together?
Well, what would be the good? It would be like an overall good, a thing that would be helpful maybe to you or your family or your community.
Yeah, like a friendship of the good, maybe like friends that you have in some civic organization or religious organization that maybe you wouldn't necessarily hang with on the weekends, but you're friends in this common cause.
Yeah.
Utility friends. I got those. I know those. That's the guy you call and you're like, you got a truck and I need some help. And he shows up because he's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
That's not really a friend, though. I don't know.
Well, if they show
you're using them. Yeah, they're a friend.
But if they're willing to do it and you would do the same for them, then that would be a friendship.
Yeah, like in my truck example, truck guy will probably call me and he's like, hey, I'm trying to download this app, and then and I don't, so I help him out. So I mean, but it's not like he comes over to my house and hangs with my family because he's a crackhead or something. You know what I mean?
But
But
he's
he's
good
still my
for having a truck.
yeah. He's good for having a truck or fixing the sink or
Or
something.
buying you crack. If
Not
you need crack,
maybe,
he can help you
maybe.
out.
He'd be your crack friend. That would be a
Yeah.
whole different level.
Oh,
The
drug friends
truth.
is definitely a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the truth is that friend. If I ended up for whatever reason, locked up, you know who I'd call? I'd call that guy.
Yeah.
Huh.
I probably wouldn't call my friend for the good, but I bet if he ended up in the same situation, he'd call me. So that's a utility friend.
Yeah.
It's almost
So
like the mafia. It's almost like
Kinda
the
is.
mafia friends. When you
Yeah.
want something on the down low, just something not that savory, it's like, I'll call them. Yeah, they'll keep it quiet.
but if you want savory, you would call your chef friend.
What was
Yes.
the middle friend again? I missed that one.
The middle friend was
Of
friendships of
joy,
pleasure.
pleasure.
Pleasure. So ones that
That,
you gain some kind of pleasure from.
that seems like a real friend. You enjoy talking to them. You laugh together.
They give you a
It's
hand job.
pleasurable. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, that's happened with me. I've had friends with benefits
I am
before.
not that kind of friend of yours.
Matt is not that friend.
No.
I haven't
He
had
was-
that friend.
Yeah.
I just got truck guy.
Smelly friends. Brendan has
Not hand guy.
truck. Well, there's hand cart guy too.
Yeah, I
That's-
don't want
that
I don't
could
want
help.
truck guy giving me a hand job at all. No.
That'd be a slightly different. Maybe it could be all three friendships, right? But there's again other stages. So there's one where there's this 5 stages of friendships. Or I guess it's the how friendship could develop, where you have a stranger. That's the initial stage, right? You just don't even know somebody. Then an
Sure.
acquaintance, where you finally have met them. A casual friend, then a close friend, and then an intimate friend. So it'd be. I think that most people, for me, come under the headings of acquaintance and casual friend.
Yeah, and the intimate one, that's when the hand jobs come in. And they're intimate.
Well, I mean, if you throw like the sex out of the equation, right? And so you have an intimate
Yeah.
friend and a close friend. So one would be a close friend. Be you go out and you hang out, and you do a lot of things with. You play golf with them, but you don't necessarily tell them your inner thoughts and emotions, like the one that you would break down and cry in front of
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you lost your dog or something. It's like
Mhm.
that
Uh-huh.
person be. I don't know. I don't think I've ever had really. I mean, other than a partner, an intimate friend.
So
Really?
so let me say if I can. That's a lot to unpack. So,
Yeah.
Your dog dies.
Yes.
You're saying that there's no one that you feel like you could share your dog's. I don't even know if you have a dog. Your dog's death with, other than your wife and maybe kids.
Yeah, well, not even the kids. It would just probably be just the wife. That
Wow.
I would be like crying to some other person about
Well,
it.
well, okay. Let's not talk about crying, but you wouldn't share. You
I
wouldn't
can
share
talk
the
about crying if I want to. You don't control me.
Fine. I'm just saying that I don't know that having someone that you can talk to about things. I think it's interesting. Like I have people that I can talk to, friends that I can talk to about things that are meaningful to me or touched me in some way or moved me or made me sad or whatever. Doesn't mean I'm bawling my eyes out in front of them. I don't really cry anyway, but that's neither here nor there. That's the Irish fucking hold it in until you die. But I have friends that I have guy friends that I would talk to about stuff.
Well, that's the thing, is that you can say you have friends. Which is again
Yes.
where this whole thing comes from, where I go, that's why I feel like I don't really have like, I guess, intimate friends. I don't really have, I guess I have kind of close friends. Greg would be one. Brendan, I'd consider you to be a close friend. But I wouldn't say that I have anybody who would be an intimate friend. One that I've like told my secrets to. Probably because I don't really trust anybody. I have this saying of that I believe everyone and I trust nobody, or I trust everyone and I don't believe anybody. It's like a combination of the two. So I'm always willing to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I don't think I've ever been really willing, other than intimate partners, to say all of my secrets to. That I'm.
So But Greg, do you have any comment on this? I don't want to, you know.
Well, I was thinking that I'm always the one claiming I have a frozen pea heart, but it sounds like you got a frozen lima bean or something for a heart. It's like you really don't want to have a really close friend just because you don't trust people. Like people will let you down. Believe me, friends will let you down. We all know that.
I don't
But a
think
lot
it's
of friends
them
won't.
letting me down so much as it's a need to know thing more than anything else.
Yeah.
A
I
need, well, okay, so a need to know things. So you're not going to go telling your friend about some thing you did when it's summer camp and, you don't want to talk about that. Okay, that's normal. But let's go back.
what did you do at summer camp, Brandon? I just brought that example out.
Wow, summer camp.
I'm sure he did a lot.
I
That's a
never
whole
I never went to
summer camp's
summer
a whole nother
camps.
podcast. Summer camp is a whole nother podcast. My
Yeah.
point is, of course, you have secrets that you wouldn't want to tell anybody because you're not comfortable, and you might tell your priest or your wife, or you might not tell either one of them either. But I'm talking about just sharing things that are personal with you, and you feel comfortable talking to that person about those things. Like I feel like I could talk to you, and I mean, Greg, I've only known for a number of weeks. I feel like I could call Greg on the phone if something was going on and I felt like he had something to contribute or I wanted to get his opinion.
Yeah,
I
if you
think
can
Greg would
imagine such a
appreciate you
scenario.
calling him actually because he needs people to call him. So
Yes.
you should
Nobody
call him,
calls
Brandon.
me. That's
I
one
don't
thing I
have,
wanted
I
to.
guess, go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
I was going to say one thing I've noticed in this internet age is that you realize, back when you could just call people if they weren't in your town, you'd have conversations. And now it's basically just like, just text me. It's just like, I'd like to talk to you. I haven't talked to you in a year. You're a good friend and you live in another city. Let's catch up. And they're just totally content to send you a text every now and then, like, hey, thinking of you, whatever. It's just like, let's talk
Thinking
sometime.
thinking
Why don't
of
we
you.
talk? But a lot of people just hate talking on the phone, I notice. And they just want to text you or send you another, whatever they're called, tweets or something. And it just seems like,
Whatever they're called, them
is,
tweets.
is that what a friend is? Is someone who sends me basically a telegram every now and then? That's the equivalent. Or
Well, you know what? You could possibly look at it that way. So look at the age before telephones and how did people communicate? They communicated via letter. They
they'd write really
communicated.
nice long letters, though. Like you
Yeah,
saw
they
that Civil War thing, very
cursive.
intimate. Yeah, they were in cursive, first of all, on nice parchment, written with a quill, and they were always very, thought out, 5 pages long. How, I miss you
Were they five
terribly,
pages
and
long, Greg? All of those letters?
a lot of them were. They were very, very lengthy
But
diatribes of
specifically
friendship.
5 pages.
That was just an example with 3 pages to maybe 10 pages. They were like, I really miss you. So there's all these things I want to convey to you instead of just like, hey, thinking of you, emoji, smiley. Like that's basically like
I
that's like
think
a
that they
generic
had
form
put an
letter.
emoji or a smiley on something back then. They wouldn't know what the hell it meant.
Well, they probably wrote a smiley face maybe or a cute little persimmon. I don't know what the emoji
A
equivalent was.
kumquat.
Yeah,
I've drawn a kumquat for you, my friend. Please accept my fruit
It
as
has
your.
been years since we've seen each other. Here's a mango.
Yours truly.
Captain Kumquat.
Call me Durian.
But I don't know. It just seems like people don't really even care anymore. Like out of sight, out of mind. It's like maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not. My friends don't like me that much. I'm
I
not
know
that
you say
likable.
this, but there's so many times that I've called you and you've got a call from somebody else going on. Whereas for me, that rarely happens. I mean, I
I
just
got
got
to
a
be
phone.
honest though. That's because I called them 3 times in the past month, and finally they
Right,
felt
but you're
guilty enough
willing to
to
call
call me
somebody
back.
three
Yeah,
times to
yeah, I
try and get
am.
them to call you, whereas I won't do that.
Yeah, yeah,
I won't try to get people to reach me. For me, it's
yeah,
like I'll put out a missive, and they'll either respond or they won't, and I'm like, whatever. You know,
yeah.
it's like it's
Wow.
at the moment where I've attempted to reach the person. If they don't respond back, then I don't. Like I said, I can live without them. I think it's because I've had so many opportunities in life to I've just cut ties so many times. Being raised as a part of the Navy, we moved every 2 or 3 years of my life, and so I really got used to whatever acquaintances or friendships I had developed where I was, realizing I would probably never see them again or talk to them again. And I was never one for correspondence. I think I tried the pen pal thing as a kid, and I realized I just don't like writing letters. For one thing, my handwriting's horrible, so I hate looking at my handwriting. And then that just translated into just not liking to write
Yeah.
things in general later on in life. So that I've never kept those things up. And then it became, I think, somewhere along the line, me going, well, I'm perfectly fine on my own. And it's nice to have people who are friendly to you. But I realized that I could do that anywhere I was. I could create new acquaintances. I could create new friendly
Yeah.
relationships. But as I used to tell my wife when we were first dating, and she kept, really wanting me to get more involved, I'm like, listen, I might be alone, but I'm never lonely. And I think it's because I've always been pretty comfortable in my own space, right? I haven't had to have people in my life per se, but
Uh-huh.
but I like having people in my life. I just don't need to have them.
Yeah, I'm the same
Okay.
way.
Okay.
I never get lonely. I want to be quarantined so bad. I'm so bummed I still haven't been quarantined. And
Yeah, I mean,
but I
I
do
don't.
love talking to people and hanging out with friends and stuff.
The friends who
I,
finally call you back after you called them 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. They're on the second stage there. What was it? Casual.
Right, the casual friendship. Well, I've come across another set of 6, but go ahead, Brendan. You were going to say something.
well, I mean, I feel, after listening to you guys, I feel pretty functional, which is odd for me.
Yeah.
Um,
People feel that after talking to
Functional.
me and Matt for a while.
I for one, am much like probably both of you. I'm not necessarily a social creature. When the quarantine happened, and all bunch of people I knew were wringing their hands about how they couldn't go out and go to the movies or go to a club or go to a restaurant, and they were just in the house and they were all by themselves and they couldn't do anything. I mean, I was like, get over yourself. I mean, whatever.
They
I
can't
spent a
get
lot.
over themselves.
I know. I spent a lot of time alone as a kid too, but at the same time, I don't know. I guess part of it is. And these different levels of friendships and all that sort of thing. I have friends, I have acquaintances, and I have, I guess, we'll call them close friends. I don't know what an intimate friend is beyond the hand job analogy, but how that's different than a close friend. I don't know how you suss that out, but
Well,
I
I
mean, I
think
do have,
it goes between like discussing your secrets with to just coming close to discussing your secrets with.
but is that really necessary? Like, as a friend, there's a certain point where it's like, you know what? I don't care what happened at summer camp.
What do you
That's
mean?
your deal. Well, I'm just saying, like, I don't think that it's incumbent upon a friendship to be able to, do some sort of Oprah Winfrey confess your soul to this other person. I
Well, I
don't
think
think that
some
should
people
be.
have that need or that desire, and they like to have somebody that they can actually confess to. And I think that's my issue, is that I just don't really need to confess those things.
Right, but
I don't
I'm
have
saying,
anything weighing on my soul that I've got to give up to somebody, and I've got to get it off, because I'm not out there betraying the confidences of people. So
right,
that
but
I have to say those things.
right, but I'm saying that I don't know that that's a measure or a metric of friendship as much as it's somebody's individual syndrome where they feel like they need to go dump a bunch of emotional garbage on somebody so they have somebody to dump it on.
Well, I think there's enough people that have that could make it a part of a metric for friendship for a general group of people, not for the general alienated type of individuals that we are.
I've had friends like that. It seems like you're their friend, just basically you're a free therapist for
Right.
them. And every time you talk to them, there's some crisis or some, like, oh, God, can we just talk about the weather or a movie or something?
Yeah,
That's the
those
thing, is
people.
I'm not really good for small talk. I don't really want to talk to friends about the weather, or even sometimes
I'm
about,
not weather, but I like talking about movies and
yeah.
comics and whatever. But whatever you talk about with friends, but some friends they just want to talk about what every day's a fucking thing with them.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, a friend. Yeah, you're right, Greg. A friend who just dumps on you all the time, all they're just
yeah,
emotional baggage. It's like that's not a friend. That's a problem, and they
yeah.
need help.
You're not a friend, you're a problem. Time
Yeah,
for you to go.
Hey,
But
do you
then
think
you
we
have
should
to be the
stop here?
friend who then tells them that they need to fix their problems. What was that, Greg?
Yeah, I was going to say, you think we should stop here for a commercial break?
Why?
I was going to try to do the thing. I was going to see if this works, but
You're going to do one
we just
thing.
edit this out so we have a nice thing into the commercial instead of
The commercial wouldn't
Just
happen in
interrupting.
the first 10 minutes of the show.
No, it's 25 minutes in. I thought it's
Well,
an
no, we
hour long
started
show.
about 10, 15 minutes after the hour, so we're only.
Okay, edit this out then.
No, this will be entertaining for me at the very.
No,
Keep this part in.
I don't want them to know how the
Let's have a
sausages are
commercial
made.
here. Let's talk about commercials. So, if anybody is wondering why we're talking about this, is because I recently did 3 different PSAs for some charities that are dealing with ballots and going to vote, and I made them really long and annoying. So, if you find, and they come out of nowhere, so we have no preamble to the ad coming in. So if any of you had an issue with that or feel that the ad was too long or you just don't want to hear me talking anymore, feel free to send us an email at qsblawoffices@gmail.com, or you can actually go to our Anchor page, which is anchor.fm/QSB, and you can leave a voice message for us there. So if you have that mental wherewithal, if you have it within you to do that, we'd appreciate it. But I kind of want to get back to the friendship and the friendship issue, and talking about the clients who are not our friends because they pay nothing. But there's a 6-stager I came across. This starts with role limited interaction. So again, that's like a stranger, like sitting next to a classmate talking about school, but there's some interaction there, but they're not a friend yet. To friendly relations, which means you're not punching them in the face, I guess. You're willing to be in the room with them.
Or maybe you're loaning them a pencil.
Right, yeah. Although there was a time when I loaned somebody a pencil in a mean way in elementary school. I had never seen this one kid cry, and so he got up to talk to the teacher or something, and I had a sharpened pencil. He came to sit down, and just in the right moment, I put the pencil point up on his seat, and he sat down on it, and he cried at that point, which is understandable considering this is like 4th or 5th grade, or when I was 3rd or 4th grade, and I realized that was a very, very horrible thing to do, and
Yeah.
that was back when.
Maybe we should come back to this whole I don't need friends thing, or
Yeah,
I don't have any friends.
That was
we
back
must be
when.
your friends for you to admit such a horrible thing to us.
I've admitted that one before, but that was back when principals could still paddle you. And so I learned about paddling, and that wasn't the last time that principal paddled me either.
Your principal should have jabbed a pencil in your ass. That would have been more apropos. An eye for an eye.
But hey, at least all these years later, I got to tell the story. After traumatizing
in your
a
ass,
3rd grader.
for sure.
Oh, my Lord.
All right, so then there's a nascent friendship, so one that's like being created, and that's after you're moving towards friendship. Then you've got a stabilized friendship, so it's in place. I guess you're doing things with. And finally, there's a waning friendship.
Oh, yes, that's definitely a thing.
So I think that's the reason I brought this up, is because we were talking about the person who's doing all of the dumping, that they're certainly on the verge of creating a waning friendship and I've done this many times, where I just stop communicating and just kind of walk away. I back away from that particular individual so that there's no longer like a communication happening with them anymore. I'm just done with them. And if they want to communicate back with me, I'll communicate, but it won't be me starting it off. It won't be me creating communication.
Has that ever happened to you in the opposite? Have you ever thought you had a friend and they seem to ghost you and just fade away, and you were like,
I think all of them have, Greg.
God.
They've all ghosted me, Greg.
Yes, me too.
It's like nobody's like seeking me out to have any conversation. Yeah. I'm like, I recognize a lot of my character flaws, and I think to myself, all right, I've obviously wronged people a lot in my lifetime. Because
I have talked to a lot of people our age, and they do say, like, I always blame myself. I figure I'm just probably boring, and they don't want to hang out with me. But it does seem you get older, especially around 40s, 50s, and you just don't care anymore about friends. It's just like, especially you guys, you have wives, you have kids. It's just like, yeah, maybe I'll see you every now and then. But remember when we were in our 20s, when your friends would just stop by your house and you'd have this totally fun time? And it's just kind of sad that those just fade away. People get older. They just, it's not.
Yeah,
sorry,
I was gonna say, I think that's kind of like any kind of relationship in your 20s. You and your wife or your girlfriends and that whole thing, and friends and all that. And as you get older, you get busy, you have kids, and you know, and you just get into that. But I can tell you both that they're not coming over to the house every night like when I was 20, but I've got several guys that I usually at least once a month, different people go, hey, we should go get a beer, or hey, let's go, you know, watch a football game, or, you know, let's go hang out or something.
Yeah, I have that too, but it just seemed like there was so many occurrences when in my 20s, just like almost every day, someone would just be knocking on my door. Hey, I was in the neighborhood. Do you want to hang out, watch Batman the Animated Series together, or whatever?
Yeah.
It was like
Did you say?
maybe we were more bored.
Wait, did you say that Mia Mia animated series? It's a Mia Mia
Batman.
animated.
I said Batman. Didn't
Batman.
I? Yeah, yeah.
You need to remember that bad habit thing we talked about, Matt. You need to get in that with that paper clip or whatever you use on your ear.
Yeah.
Mia Mia animated.
But the thing is, like me and my, you know, I don't have any more responsibilities in my life. I still live like a 19-year-old. You know, I have a crappy job. I come home, I have no responsibilities, and I still feel the same way. I'm not like, hey, I'm bored today. I'm going to go walk over to my friend's house, see what he's doing. I'll call him maybe and just say hi.
I think we fall into routines to a large degree.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
what
we
it is, I
get
think.
used to not having that constant interaction. But I think some people need it more than others too. You know?
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's people who just have to have people around them, like you were
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about before when the quarantine started. For me, it was like quarantine was like no big deal. It's like, okay, well, you know, I've got plenty of things to entertain me, things I can do to while away the time. Even if there was no television and there was nothing entertaining me, I would have found a way to entertain myself in some way. You know, it could be just counting dots on a wall, and I'd be
Which
totally
brings us back to hand
hypnotized.
jobs.
I was going to say, I would have
I
found
didn't
some
know
way
it was-
to entertain myself with no television at all.
That's right. I got some areas of the wall I got to spackle. So
Spackle.
Those are the spots.
just wipe that over. Anyway, thanks guys for once again showing the classiness of this podcast.
Yeah.
But the waiting friendship thing is I'm kind of interested in exploring a little bit more too. So have there been, for you guys, have there been people that you've deliberately walked away from, or they walked away from you? And was there a wondering what happened with those relationships on either side?
Yeah, for sure.
What would be like an example of that for you, Greg?
God, so many.
So many.
Just friends.
Let's start with number 3.
Well, like, okay, in my 40s, I met someone, and we were like, it was almost like high school again, or college, where it hadn't been 10 years since I met someone, and the next day we were doing everything together every day. Every day she'd be calling me up. Hey, let's go out to lunch. Hey, this is a great band playing. And I was like, wow, this is great. And she's just this wonderful person. And then I don't know if she got a boyfriend, but I mean, she had other boyfriends at other times where it didn't seem to affect our friendship. But then all of a sudden, she just was not calling me anymore. It was just kind of over. Yeah. And I mean, I guess I get it. Like, she found a boyfriend, I guess. But then she lost that boyfriend and was single again. And then I wasn't back in that friend zone. Even though she was single now, it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to call up Greg now because I don't have my boyfriend around. It just changed. And it was just kind of weird because we seemed to enjoy each other's company so much for like, we never got in an argument or anything. It was just like really fun. And then it just faded and went away.
So,
and we're still friends.
So you've
we
talked
don't
to
hang
her
out that
since
often.
then.
Yes.
Did you ever
often.
ask her why this happened?
No. That would be too weird.
I don't think it would be weird. I mean, if you still have a friendly relationship with her, go, hey.
That's why.
Do you remember that? But wouldn't it be interesting to find out?
It would be.
Was it you or was it her? And could you use that analysis for other relationships later?
I thought you were going to say, could you use it against her?
If you want to.
No. I don't know. It just seems awkward, and I am still friendly with her. So it's like, why rock the boat? Why?
Yeah, but
make
you're
it awkward?
generally awkward, so you could get away with it.
That's true. I could get away with it. I just don't feel like doing it, I guess.
I kind of want her on the horn right now. Actually, I want to explore this.
Okay.
So, was there a point?
Can we call her?
Yeah, let's give her a call.
I could call her.
Call her up right now.
I call her. We probably talk every like 2 or 3 weeks.
So you talk every 2 or 3 weeks. But you said there was a point that you were like talking to her every day, and you were
Yeah,
going
and
out
hanging
all the
out,
time,
and yeah,
and then
it's
it
totally.
just, but and
It
yet
was
you,
like college.
oh, so it was back in college. Okay.
No, no, I'm saying it was like college. It was like
Oh,
I in my 40s, I didn't have any other friends like that.
I just want to say that the part of the thing that sort of taints this experiment is that she was a female,
Mm-hmm.
so there could have been some underlying dynamic about maybe she was interested in you and she didn't pick up that you were interested in her.
There
Or,
was definitely some. There was a night
uh-oh.
of romantic entanglement that didn't turn out well. So,
Oh,
yeah.
close to the
but
end
still,
of
no,
this, or
no,
sometime
no,
earlier
no.
in that?
We stayed friends after that. That was the weird thing. It wasn't like that was it. We
So
were still very
you
friendly.
had this thing where you accidentally put your dick in her ear, and she was like, "No, not happening."
How did you know?
I figured it out.
Uncanny. Yeah.
Based it on the things behind you.
No,
But
it was just this thing where, I don't even want to talk about it. You're not, see, you guys aren't on that level of friendship with me where I could talk about that with you.
well,
It's
But,
okay,
that's us.
Greg. I
It's
don't
all
want to
of
hear
our,
about it. To be
it's
you
all of
completely
our
don't, yeah,
honest.
you
30
don't,
listeners as
believe me.
well. So.
But we did stay friends after that. That wasn't the thing, because I that would be obvious. That would be like, oh yeah. But no, we were totally friendly for another, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, hanging out all the time, and then it just faded away.
Right, and see, it's that particular point that I'm interested in. It's the part at the end
Hmm.
where it just faded away. Did you try and track her down at that time, or what
No,
happened?
no, we still would. She'd still call me like every other week, maybe, and say,
Uh,
"Hey, how's it going?" And but it wasn't like this thing where like every day, let's do this, let's do this, let's hang out. That was over for sure.
so you weren't as, maybe you weren't as interested in hanging out with her anymore either.
No, I did, because it was usually her. Like she would always have these great ideas, like,
Uh,
"Oh, Greg, I heard about this cool band who's playing tonight. I'm gonna take you. Let's go." I mean, it wasn't like I was just like, I don't want to hang out with her. I'm just letting her drag me along. And every now and then I'd have an idea and be like, we should do this together. But she
and
just was
every
always
now and then
calling
you'd
me up.
have an idea. What ideas would you have in this relationship, Greg?
Like we could go down to KFC and share a bucket of chicken. And no, I don't know, just whatever. I like this
And
band.
like
Let's
rub
go
the
see them.
chicken all over your
Well, I
face?
mean, Greg, that sounds like that was a nice thing, and it was a
It
good part of
was.
your life.
It still is a nice thing. I'm still friends
Yeah.
with her, just not as great a thing as it was, because that
But there
was
was like a
magical.
passion. There was a passion there where you guys wanted each other's company, and then there was no longer that
And it was beyond that. It was
desire
like
to be in each other's company.
there's people I don't get to hang out with often, but I do really love hanging out with them. Every time I get to hang out with them, I'm always like, oh, awesome, I get to hang out with this friend because they're always fun or whatever. And this was like the first time since like my 20s when I actually had someone who was just like, let's hang out all the time. That seems to fade away. Even in your 30s, it seems to fade away.
Yeah, I can't remember ever actually having somebody who wanted me to hang out with them all the time. And I think it just goes to my particular personality. Maybe I'm just not that I don't notice those things as well. I've always been generally clueless whenever it came to relations with other people in terms of how much they were into me or not. Like how
But
what?
aren't you kind of technically in the entertainment business? Isn't part of what you do normally when things are going on is go to bars and do karaoke with strangers?
Right, which makes me question every relationship I have with a person because I don't really know what is a client relationship and is a friendly relationship. Because I was in public relations for a couple of decades too, and so most of my socializing was part of the job. So socialization was for me going out and getting to know people and working with them on different issues and getting things into the media and blah blah blah. So it was never for, I guess, personal reasons that I was developing relationships. And it's the same thing with doing karaoke and what have you as a job. It's not for personal reasons I'm having relations, it's for the purpose of the business.
So
Right?
where does the disconnect come for you in terms of personal reasons and business reasons? What's the line there? Like, okay, so personal reasons, let's say I work at an office, and so my friends are the people that I work at the office. I didn't go out and seek these people out. I just happened to have to deal with them because economically speaking, I had to have them. I have to have a job. And so there are people at the office I like and people I don't, and I become friends with the people at the office. There's no pure, like, I went out into the woods to find a friend and stumbled across this person. I mean, friendship is just a lot of times just a matter of circumstance and where you are. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, I was going to say waning friendships for me were usually over the last, say, 15, 20 years related to kids. Like, my kids were friends with their kids, and I hung out with those people because our kids were friends. Would I choose them otherwise? No. Did I become friends with them? Yes. Did some of them I become more friends than others? Yes. And when our kids stopped being friends, did we stop hanging out? Absolutely. But it had more to do with that than it had to do with me picking or choosing these people necessarily.
Well, it's an interesting point you make, because you and I are friends because of circumstance, right? We happen to be in LA at the same time, working on a couple of different projects. Somebody suggested I talk to you about something, and that's how we got to know each other. And then I think we had similar personalities to a certain extent, and so we were able to have good conversations with each other, and they
Right.
continued. But we had a waning relationship as well, right? When you guys moved to Florida, that was kind of like the end of our relationship
Right.
for the most part, right? But
Right.
I think the thing is, though, is that there are people that you have a relationship with at some point in your life that they would be okay with you contacting them again if it was 20 years later, and you could pick up where you left off. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like I had a friend who was living out here. I don't know if you knew him. His name was Mike Lashway. He lived out
Yeah.
here in Oregon. So I tracked him down when I moved out here. We hung out for a bit, and then somewhere along the line, he kind of disappeared. And I know that if I were to come across him again in 10 or 15 years, if he's still alive, that we could rekindle that friendship the way it was.
Sure.
That's happened to me. I've had the past 10 years, I've had two different people who were out of my life for like, one was like 15, 20 years, and one was like 8 years. And then we just totally someone reached out on Facebook or something. And now they would call each other every week, even though they live in other cities. And like, we're definitely that high stage of friendship.
Yeah, and
Anything that,
it's like people on Facebook that I found Facebook as this incredible tool, because, like I said, I had this disjointed life where I moved every 2 or 3 years and cut all these ties with people, where I actually have been able to track people down that I never thought I would ever be in contact with again, just to see what they're doing, find out where they've gone, where did their life's journey take them. And we
Right.
didn't necessarily rekindle friendships from there. We may have had a conversation that ended it, but it's been, for me, actually a great closure tool. In other words, for me to find out about something that I may have had an issue with way back when, get an answer to it, and go, okay, I can be done with that now and move on. And I think that's what I really found using social media for, and I
I,
created new friendships with people from high school that I wasn't friends with then, because of social media, where I've had a much deeper and more problematic conversations than I ever had with them in the past because of social media. So that's been a boon and a bane at the same time. And I think a number of them, I could reach out to them and hang out with them again, even if I don't see them again for 10 years. So the waning part of it I thought was interesting, because you can have a waxing as well of a friendship. They've waned and then they waxed. And then you can also do the whole Karate Kid reference, where you can wax on, wax off.
yes. But I found that works really well with like friends you made in college, but like your childhood friends, all bets are off with what they're like now. Like, you thought they were your best friend in the world when you were 10.
Yeah.
They were your soulmate. You were like, this is my best friend. I love this guy. And now they could be in QAnon. You find out on Facebook. They're like fucking nuts. Even my high
I
school
got a couple
friends,
of guys from high school who are like that, actually.
yeah, even my high school friends. But it seems like the friends I made in college, maybe that's an age where you're finally mature enough to be like, I'm choosing my friends correctly or something, because they're very similar to me. Where
Yeah,
they
well,
think,
when you get to college, you sort of have, adult formed thoughts. You're not running
Yeah.
around playing Star Trek. God knows where those, paths could diverge,
yeah. A lot of my
I
high
had
school
people. I remember
friends.
just losing touch of people while in college. It's like your first year or two,
Oh
you
yeah.
created these friendships, and then,
Mhm.
for me at least, I totally forgot about people until maybe a couple of years later in college, and like, oh, why did we stop hanging out? because we
Yeah.
liked each other, and we just stopped hanging out for whatever reason. And I think it's just you wind up with different interests, or you get really involved in some other subject matter, and whatever you were doing with them became gone. Like a lot of friends were created because we lived on the same floor, in a dorm. And
Right.
so we became friendly. And it's like there was this one woman I used to hang out with all the time. And then, a year later, she and I just stopped even talking to each other. And when we
Yeah.
saw each other, we were like, hey, how come you're not talking to me anymore? And she's like, well, how come you're not talking to me anymore? I'm like, I don't really have an answer for that. I don't know what happened. And you know what happened? Nothing. We stopped talking to each other even after that conversation. So, which was weird because we liked each other. We hung out. So yeah, it's hard to define where that goes. And as an adult, I've still moved around a number of times, although I've been pretty set in this area for a while now. But people who I created as friends when I first came here, I'm not really in touch with anymore, and I don't really communicate with them. And, really it's like things shifted as my career shifted too, So I think
Not to sound
for me,
like a
it's mainly
Hallmark
all of my
card.
friendships are friendships of utility. I think that's what
Not
it comes
not to sound like a Hallmark card, but could that maybe be the definition of like what a real friend is, as opposed to an acquaintance? Is like whatever circumstance or utility or reason you're with someone, that can end and you just don't even think about it. It's just like, I guess they faded out of my life. But a real friend is someone that no matter what happens, even 20 years later, you're just like still thinking about them, still wishing you could talk to them, still thinking, this is something that they'd appreciate more than anyone I know. I wish I could call them right now and tell them about something I just saw or
I
thought.
don't really have anybody like that. I don't have anybody that I would wish to communicate with that I haven't gone out of my way to actually communicate with. It's kind of like a lot of people, they have these relationships with their parents that they don't get the communication off with them before they croak, and they have all these regrets about not having done that. And for me, it's like whatever I wanted to get off my chest with my parents, I've gotten off my chest. I've said my piece, or I've reached out and given a part of myself and hopes for some other reciprocation that hasn't happened. And I'm like, okay, well, I did my
Wow.
bit.
I can't wait to get that speech for my kids, Matt.
I think all of my kids know that they could come to me and tell me whatever they want to tell me, and I'll accept whatever it happens to be. I think my kids know that I love them, and because I've
Well,
told
that's
them
good.
many times, and
So,
I haven't had a lack of emotional connection with my kids at all. I don't think I have that problem. So yeah, but I don't know if you have a different issue, Brendan.
well, no, I mean, I have all kinds of issues, but that's not the topic of this podcast.
Yeah, we should maybe do an episode of all of our issues. First of all, what's wrong with each of us that we go into detail.
I think we've
People,
kind of done
if
that
people
every
haven't
week.
figured that out already.
Yeah, every week we reveal our issues
That's
by
right.
talking about
So,
various topics.
So yeah, that's
so
right. I am a robot. I just have circuitry and wires showing inside.
right.
Up the
At the risk of sounding, I don't know, too zen, we have to. I think for me, it's really looking at what is a friend, without 5 levels or 3 categories or classes or stages or whatever. A friend is somebody that I can count on if I need help. I can speak to, and I enjoy being around. Beyond that, I don't know that I've placed too much significance on their comings and goings in my life, or the level of discourse I feel that I can have with them. There are certainly people that I can talk to about stuff that I wouldn't talk to somebody else about, but I might not talk to them about that thing that I would talk to this other person about. You know what I mean? So it's a very situational.
right, contextual.
What makes a friend? If I want to talk about football, I might, text or call John Turbish. I probably wouldn't call you because you couldn't
Don't
give
call
a shit.
me.
And
Yeah,
I
don't
would
call
call
me.
either one of you, right?
I would hang up on you. I'd be like,
Good.
I don't want to talk about football.
All
Right.
I know is that you bringing up John's name would cause him to go, get my name off of that podcast, because he's a
Right.
mutual friend of ours from Washington, D.C., Greg, and he's a private investigator. And so
Oh.
he's very secretive about his life and himself, and
Can I see a picture of him?
doesn't
Would
like
you show
people.
me what he looks like?
He's
No.
just an outline of a person, actually. That's what he looks like.
He's an
There's no,
icon.
he's got no nose or eyes. It's just like if you don't have a face
Sandblasted.
on Facebook, that's actually was his face they used as the model for that. That's him. So you can never
So anyway,
recognize him.
so if I wanted to talk about politics, I would talk to certain people that I consider friends, and I wouldn't talk to other people who I also consider friends.
Yeah.
So it's very contextual for me, and
So
I
if
think
you were calling somebody about, I don't know, issues with your kids, who would you talk to besides your wife, besides a family member?
issues with my kids. Well,
Yeah.
most of my kids are grown now.
Well, while you were growing up.
I could give you a good outsider perspective. You could call me.
I would usually, just speaking to answer the question, I would speak to the parents of that child. So if I was running into difficulties with one child, I would probably speak to a parent that our children were friends and say, hey, so-and-so kid is doing this thing, or I have this issue. Have you run into that with so-and-so? Because they're a similar age, so they kind of go through similar stages. So I'd probably just talk to one of my kids' friends' parents.
So it'd be like a contextual friend in that case. It's the situational
Absolutely.
friends.
Do you have any questions about comic books, Brendan? You could always call me.
Okay.
About
I'm
the
your best friend.
animated series.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm definitely your best friend in that aspect.
I don't know, because you said you were an expert on zombies, and when we did the zombie episode, you weren't as much of an expert as I was.
I am such an expert on zombies.
You
The
totally
theories behind
disappointed me.
zombies. Not every zombie movie. I haven't watched them all. I can tell you the director, but I
What
can tell
about
you
zombie friends, Greg? How would zombies have friends? Let's
they can't. They have no
template
sentience.
episodes.
They can't have friends. They have no emotions. Friendship needs sentience and emotion.
Yeah, but in all those shows, all the zombies are hanging out together. They must be friendly somehow.
No,
Yeah,
it's
they're
the
not
first
chewing
level.
on each other. They're not knocking
By
each other
utility, they figure they could be a horde together and attack humans better,
Yeah.
but they're not real friends.
Well,
So anyway, to
that's
get
how
back
I
from
feel.
zombies.
Yeah, let's get back to our real client.
I think for me, just speaking for me now, there are two types of friends. And those two may be one and the same, but they're definitely distinct. There are contextual friends and there are utility friends. And the most important of those, and I think Greg hit it the best, is contextual friends, because they're kind of like the mafia. I know I'm a contextual friends for a lot of people. Like, they're like, oh my God, what the fuck kind of shit have I gotten myself into? Who can I call in Clearwater? Brendan. I can call Brendan.
He'll bury the body for me and not tell anyone.
Yeah. You get the ankles, I'll get the wrists. Let's do this.
Well, I know that the one person I called when I went to Florida, like in 2006 or 2005, Brendan was the one guy that I called, and we went out and we got a little bit drunk at a bar because it was St. Patrick's Day. And there was nobody else that I had an interest in calling. So
you knew some people in Florida, you're saying? Other than Brendan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like my dad. My dad lived in Florida.
Oh, you didn't want to call you?
I did call him, and we did connect, but we didn't do that.
Yeah, you have fun with him.
Yeah, it wasn't
dads
the
aren't
same
for
thing.
fun.
Yeah, my
you
dad.
Have fun with your dad.
It was, yeah, pretty much. My dad, we had, we did things together, but we didn't necessarily. It wasn't like playtime or anything. Things are always kind of serious, even.
Well, dads are dads.
Yeah, that's what dads are like.
We were doing, even when we went out hunting, it wasn't a fun activity. It was a serious activity. And I always did something wrong. So there was that.
Yeah.
So,
it was like a manhood ritual more than a fun time, probably.
I don't even know that it was a manhood ritual. I think it was just more like this is what he enjoyed doing when he was growing up. And so he took us out to do those things. And I was never a fan of aspects of it because it was just uncomfortable going out in the freezing cold and wet to go kill something.
Yeah.
That I was a horrible shot at it anyway. So
I almost felt bad when I was a kid. My dad grew up when he was at NYU. He was a champion fencer. He loved fencing, and he taught fencing.
He built lots and lots of fences?
No, with a foil. He was a sword fighter.
Fences out of aluminum foil?
He was a fencer. You know what I'm talking about. Stop obfuscating the issue, my colleague. So he would but he had classes for kids. He loved fencing so much, even as a dentist. You know, that's what his job was. He would teach these classes, volunteer to teach fencing because he was so sad that it was a dying sport. And I would do it. I didn't want to because I hated sports, but he'd be like, Greg, you got to come. But I was so bad at it, he didn't even push me, and I kind of feel bad about it. Like, wow, I must really suck at this. Where he's not like, come on, my son's going to be a fencer just like I was. You know, dads always have that. They want you to do what they liked when they were a kid.
Yeah.
But I was so bad, he just gave up and was like, just stay home and watch Meow the animated series, Greg. Just read your comic books. You're
What
not
would
cut
you
out for this.
say? What would you say is a bad friend? When do friends go bad?
I've had friends right from the get-go were bad. I just like, they're drunks at bars that were kind of fun to talk to, maybe a little, and then you realize this guy's a fucking moron, but he's my guy I chat with, and everything they say is stupid. And
But what if it's somebody you've been with for a long time, and then suddenly things start dawning on you about them? Like there's characteristics where you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm okay with that type.
Yeah, many different things. You know, I've had friends who like, some of their outlook on life is so opposed to me that I was just like, but I mean, actually, usually that doesn't stop me. Like I have friends who are totally opposed to my viewpoint of the way things are, but I'm still their friend.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know, just like on personal issues, like, oh, they totally dick me over. Like I realize that even though I've done all these favors for them, when it comes time for me to ask them for one tiny favor, they're just like, I don't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes that happens. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
they've just been using me all these years.
I've found that the bad friends that I've had over the years usually started off as casual friends, buddies, you know, whatever. And as I kind of became whatever more close to them, and usually these people sought me out more than I sought them out, but the dysfunction in their lives started to just become a burden on me. You know, whether it was drugs or too much drinking or just drama or just God knows what, showing up at my house in the middle of the night because their girlfriend dropped them off in the middle of, you know, people that just have like issues, you know.
I like being able to say to somebody, I'm just not that good of a friend, man. You're going to have to go. That's, I think, a good
I wish I could have said
catch-all
that.
statement. But, you know, I was looking at these red flags of friendships, and I'm like, I think that I probably fit a lot of these, and that's probably why I don't have friends. So I'm going to read some of these here. You realize that hanging out with a particular friend leaves you feeling worse, not better, after your time together.
Oh, yeah. I've been there.
With me?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
no, I'm kidding.
So he comes out, and he was fine, and now he's got the flu. You realize you begin to try to find reasons to avoid spending time with a friend or wanting to cancel plans once they've been made.
Yeah.
It's like there would have to be somebody just really, I guess I'm just more discerning about some people where I don't let some people get that close to me so that they can latch on. I think it's probably because I'm a bit of a blunt individual, and I'll point out those types of character traits to them as it's happening.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably just walk. I'll just like go, I'm done with this person. I don't need to communicate with them again.
What I've found is that it reveals itself over time.
Yeah.
The more you get to know them, the more you realize, oh, this guy's fucked up.
Yeah.
And then you have to kind of rewind out of it. You know what I mean?
And what time do you lose your politeness whenever dealing with it? You know, you go, okay, I've had enough, and this is it. You don't got to talk to me anymore, man. Go live.
When they show up at my house after having smoked meth, that's usually a good get the fuck out of my life.
I haven't had that one, or at least I
don't live in.
Maybe
you don't live in Florida.
Oh, we got plenty of meth here, man.
Yeah. When I was in my 20s, I like
on the West Coast, man. Plenty.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. But when I was in my young days, when I was like in my 20s, I like full on hated myself. So I wanted everyone to like me so bad. I had many friends that all these red flags were like from the get-go. They were just like, this guy's an idiot. He's a narcissist. But he wants to hang out with me, so I'll hang out with him. He's my buddy.
So you did it because of the lack of friends that you had.
I had lots of friends, but I never wanted to like offend anyone. I hated myself so much. I didn't want anyone to dislike me. So I was always appeasing. I was that guy who'd be like, oh, okay, I don't want to do that, but I'll pretend I do to anyone. And I had a lot of good friends at that time, luckily. But then some shitty people would come into my life and I'd just be just as appeasing. Like, oh, you want to hang out? Sure. And I'd be like, I don't really want to hang out with this guy. He's kind
So,
of a
Greg,
chucklehead.
then why are you still friends with me? I mean, the fact is, your sister pointed it out. She said I'm mean to you. Why do you let yourself be abused?
You're not really, I mean, it's all jokey, It's like, I get it.
You know what that hides, though, don't you?
Yeah, I know. Deep down, you do resent me. I know this, but
Oh, here we go. We're coming to the episode's conclusion. I saw that when I saw the topic. I'm like, oh, we're going to get right into this. And
no,
so,
I think because we are so similar, Matt. That's why we're friends. We both have tiny little whatever vegetable we have hearts. We don't care about being alone. We're not needy.
It's an eggplant.
Yeah, yours is an eggplant. But we're not needy, and we like just like kibitzing and joking, and nothing's too serious. And that's really fun. And
Well,
and also you like to hang out. Like we like to go to karaoke together. That's
right.
definitely a utility thing.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if you had however you quantify best friend, as far as someone who calls me up in the past 5 years who actually was like, hey, Greg, you want to do something? That was you. I mean, at least once a week, you'd be like, Greg, there's this new karaoke bar. Let's go check it out. My other friends wouldn't be like, they all had kids and they were all ensconced at home watching TV every night. You were like, hey, let's do something. We'll pal around,
Palamound?
Pal around.
I can't speak. I don't know what Palamound means.
It could be that's another level of friendship that we don't have.
It's the
But we
Palamound
pal
level.
around. Most of my friends, I had like one of their friends who would actually just be like, hey, let's get a drink every now, once a week or something. But most of my friends were always like, oh no, I'm
hey,
tired.
guys, you want me to check out? You guys can just finish this off between the two of you. I mean,
Sure.
Have we hit the hand job level? Is that what you're talking about?
It's starting to get real bromancy here, and I'm all
Yeah,
for
what's
it.
wrong with that? That's
Nothing's
friendship.
wrong with it. I'm really
You're just
glad.
making Brandon feel left out. Greg.
No.
Matt can talk about your
I'm just saying
friendship
that you
this way.
guys obviously, after this whole podcast and talking about how you don't have any friends and you for all the reasons why you don't have friends, you guys definitely are friends. And yeah, there's give and take in a relationship. There's any kind of give and take in a relationship. I have friends I fucking give shit to, and I have friends that give me shit. And that's just the way it goes. I have some that it goes both ways. But anyway, I just think that you guys are friends, and that's cool. And I think you should worry less about maybe how many friends you have or don't have, and just appreciate the friends you do.
Oh, well, fuck you.
I'm not the one who says he doesn't have any friends. I have friends.
You have said that, and I had to point out that you do. Because
no, I never said that.
Someone would be calling you. I'm like, obviously you have friends because people call you.
My friends aren't as friendly.
But nobody calls me.
They used
the last call I got was my ex-wife, and that's not like a friendly thing.
Yeah,
well,
I'm just saying my friends.
From her, she's cool, but the point is that we're not buddies. Me and my
my friends aren't as friendly as they used to be. As I get older, it's just like, I rarely get to see them. They don't call as much. But they're still my friends, like I still can call them. Definitely if something serious happens, they're there for me. Like I had friends who maybe call me every 4 months. And when COVID happened, they were sending me texts like, Greg, are you okay? Do you need food? Do you need money? Because everyone knows I'm like the poor, street urchin friend of everyone.
How much money did you get? Did you get a lot?
So
I didn't need any. I was
doing
doing fine. I was flush.
Let me ask you both a hypothetical question, and please don't overthink this. For whatever reason, maybe you didn't do anything at all, but you end up in jail. You've got and you can't call your significant other, Matt. You can't call your wife. For whatever reason, that's the rules in this weird universe. You have to call a friend. You're in jail. You need somebody to help bail you out, get you out, explain the situation, whatever. Who do you call?
That's a good question.
Definitely not me.
Yeah, because Greg's got no money and he doesn't even have
I've got no car. He's take a lift
pointless.
there.
I don't know. I have to look through my list of people on my phone for me to figure out who that would be.
What about Jen?
I don't know that I would call her either. That's a I don't know. I don't know, Brendan. I don't know if I got anybody that I would call. I might just have to.
You have to. What I'm suggesting to both of you is that is a friend you have to have.
I have to
Oh
have
yeah.
that friend, the friend I call if I'm in jail.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to dodge that whole thing. I mean, I know I have someone who's friendly who's a lawyer. I'd probably call him.
Okay.
You know, because he's been to my house at least once. Um, you know, and we've maintained a tacit, friendly relationship for many years.
I would
So
suggest expanding that
maybe,
relationship
maybe
in a utilitarian
he's a
fashion.
better person than me, so I don't force myself on him.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's like a higher class of individual. So
Oh, you're a high class individual. Stop
Yeah.
selling yourself short, Matt.
I can
You
if I
were
want to.
you were a
You
DC
you have
lobbyist.
friends. You have friends, and they love you, Matt. And you're an important person, and your life is valuable.
I don't force my thank you, Brendan. I don't force
Matt,
myself.
say that into the mirror every morning as an affirmation.
I don't need to though. I
I'm
say
You
it.
could just
I
invaluable.
don't say that I don't have friends as like it's a bad thing. I
you
I
could
don't
just
know
say
you.
like I
edit that.
need to have friends. I just say it as a statement, as a matter of fact, right? It's like it is how it is, and I'm not like I don't really have a problem with it because I can create friendly relations with. I would probably become friends with whoever I was stuck in jail with, more than likely, because it would be a utilitarian point, you know,
Yo,
perspective. I just
I
start
don't like
getting to
where this is
know,
going.
you know, the toothless guy who's sitting on the toilet next to me. I'd probably just like get to know that guy
No,
and see what.
that's an important. That's important. That's good. So, Greg, who's your phone call?
I
Well, he would call
um
me because
no,
I would.
you probably wouldn't. You'd be like, oh, I'm watching this Netflix show about a baker, the baking wives of New
That
Jersey
was
who are
last
baking
night.
cakes. I know. Um,
That's true. If I'm being inconvenienced, I probably wouldn't help you.
yeah, that would be like, Greg, deal with it
No, if you
yourself.
were in a circumstance, I would definitely. I would
I
drop
know.
what I was
But
doing.
no, I do have friends in that situation, even though it would like what's the word I'm looking for? It would like spend cash in our friendship. They'd probably be like, oh fuck. Okay, after this I'm writing Greg off. He's more trouble than he's
I have
worth.
one guy who has helped me in the past when I've been in a circumstance. We haven't been friendly recently because he's been kind of out of the area, but it's a guy who has been very loyal. He helped me move like 3 times, so I'd probably call him. I just haven't talked to him in so long now. I would feel bad about asking him for help because I already owe him. You know.
Yeah, that's what I'd feel bad about asking, even though I know they'd help me. There's definitely a bunch of friends in Portland. I just feel like such a turd to be like get in that situation and be like, that's the worst. That's a bad friend.
You know,
Oh,
A
the
friend who
weird thing
calls
is
you up.
that there's so many people who could call me and I would have no problem actually helping them out, right? It's like I don't mind going out of my way for people I don't even know that well. I would go ahead and help them. But I just don't like to put that onus on other people for me. I always feel like that I have to be more self-sufficient and address these things myself in my own way. I mean, if I was really stuck, I'd get smart about it and figure out who it could be. But yeah, I think I'm just I hate to use the term alpha because I think it's a silly statement, but in terms of like being like self-sufficient and more willing to handle my own issues than put them on other people, I'm more aligned with that. So I don't like to put my issues on other people so much.
Well, I'm a Zeta. I'm a Zeta male. I think that's the lowest in the Greek alphabet. And I don't like to put any onus on anyone to help me out. I'm the same way, but I'm definitely not alpha. But I'm like, I hate asking for favors, and I feel because I always feel a little less than, so I don't want to make it worse. Like, Greg, fucking up again, needs help getting
well,
bailed out.
I don't
I'm
have
more of
that
a
problem.
I'm more of a Delta Gamma.
So
I'm a
you're
Phi
in a
Beta
sorority.
Phi. I'm a sorority.
You're more of a
I've
Tapakega brew.
Yeah, but of course, no one wants to impose on their friends that this terrible, stupid, bad situation that I've gotten myself into. But I think a lot of I think a lot of people's friendship anxiety would be alleviated if they knew they had at least a couple of people that they could call who would help them out. And the truth is, Matt, you said like I would do it, but wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to put that on somebody else. You know what? There are a bunch of people you know that would be totally happy to do that for you. You just don't know it.
Yeah, I
They'd be
know one
mad that
guy.
you didn't call them.
I know one guy who volunteered things for me before, and I was very grateful for him to do it.
Like I bet if you called Greg, even though he doesn't have a car and he's broke, Greg would wake up, get out of bed if he was asleep, and spend the next 20 minutes calling everybody he knows in Portland to try to help you out. I guarantee you.
Okay, all right, Greg, are
I
you ready?
might, unless I had a really good comic to read at the time, like a really engaging graphic novel. I'd be like, can this wait?
All right. Well, I think we've come to a good stopping point here. So I think the place where we can put in commercial breaks would be right before we go into the pizza thing. The pizza fund conversation.
Oh, that's a good place to break
Right.
it.
So
yeah.
we could break there in the future and go. Okay. So when we come back from the break, we'll be talking about the money. So I'll stop the recording now that
Please
we've
edit out the
returned.
earlier thing I did.
Nah, I don't know if I'll edit out the earlier thing or not. But why don't we talk about the pizza fund? Where are we with our statistics? All right, so we have made since June a whopping $5.58.
Since June.
Yeah, that's when we started doing these podcasts.
Oh, I
Getting
thought it
close
was
to
earlier.
$6.
We started the podcast in June. Yeah, we're almost at $6. We're almost near the $5.99 coupon for Domino's.
Yeah.
Where you can get, but you have to buy two things to get the $5.99 deal for Domino's. So, gosh, we should probably start talking about once we get the money. What are we going to get, Greg? How is this going to work out?
I'm gonna get the cheapest pizza available, probably.
Because I'm just like kind of shocked that we've even gotten that much money collected for all just this yammering to each other.
What have we gotten from our Patreon site?
We haven't used the Patreon site. We haven't.
We have a
Patreon account. We've just not done anything with it because I don't know.
But can people contribute to it?
If there are listeners out there that want to contribute,
they can contribute to this. They could actually support the podcast itself and send money in forms like $5 or $10. It's available through Anchor that you can actually have people send money to support the podcast. And I think it's like that.
So in other words, if you've enjoyed tonight's content, you can go to anchor.com and you can contribute to this podcast. It'd be anchor.com/QSB.
I think it's anchor.fm/QSB.
So if you go there, there's a button right on there. Just pound that button and give us $1.
No, I think you can actually subscribe. You could actually pay like $5 a month or something if you enjoy this this thing.
You know that hand job, friend shop thing? I mean, if you're in Florida and you're not far away.
But the Patreon people, they just seem like, I gotta say, they're suckers. They're just emptying their wallets like to anything. You could go on Patreon and be like, hey, I'm making this little fanzine about ducks.
Well, you have to still get people who want to give the money for whatever it is.
I know, and I'm saying they're very generous.
So what you're saying is you want to create a Patreon account for duck penises?
No, just for this. This is just as dumb as talking about duck penises, what we're doing. And there's probably on Patreon, if we push that more.
I think talking about duck penises might be more important than what we're doing.
There are scientists that have devoted their entire professional career to studying.
I actually saw one lecture
tens of thousands of dollars to study duck penises.
I saw that scientist at PSU. It was a fascinating lecture. I really did.
Well, let's talk about our analytics. Now, we've lost more French listeners.
Ah, merde.
We've gone, so it's 87% the United States now. So we moved up in the U.S. at least. But France is now at 10%. Down to 10% for listeners.
Oui, oui, monsieur.
Sacre
and then everyone else is a less than 1%er. So we've got Ireland, Canada, India, Nigeria, Singapore. I think Singapore's new. Germany, Ukraine, Philippines, Bangladesh, and the United Kingdom. Those are the various different listeners.
I wonder if it's the Queen of England is listening to us.
We now have 3% of listeners in the age bracket of 23 to 27.
Mm-hmm.
That's very strange. 1%, 28 to 34. 10%, 35 to 44. And in the elderly crowd, between 45 and 59, is 68%.
Of course.
68%. But actually, we do have people who are over 60 listening. 8% of our listeners are over 60%. And, 63% female, 27% male, 8% non-specified. That's the 8% robot listeners that we have. It's,
so again, let's come
artificial
back to this.
intelligence.
Our listening audience is 63% female compared
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, we appeal to old ladies.
Like 3 old white men talking is appealing to women somehow.
Well, I did get a little bit of feedback from a friend of mine who lives in north of Seattle, and she said she's found it interesting. She's been listening to the podcast. It gives her insight into the man cave, she said.
That's interesting.
Which I'd never use the term man cave because that's another term that I find ridiculous. But I understand her perspective on that. In other words, here we are. We're 3 guys who have been around for a while. We have got plenty of gray, hence the grizzled in our adjective of the description of the show. And we have our point of view. And if you're not a guy our age, you're probably not going to understand a lot of things that we're talking about, or we'll give more insight into our points of view so they can, well, I just had somebody drive by with a flag waving Trump in their truck. Anyway.
Welcome. Well, that's a daily occurrence here in Florida.
You don't see it often in the suburbs of Portland.
No.
So, yeah.
I'd be worried if I were you.
I'm not that worried. I can get along with everybody.
When I see that in the southeast of Portland, that's when we got to worry.
Why?
In Portlandia.
Why in southeast Portland?
Because the suburbs are, I mean, even on 82nd and, Powell, there's Trump supporters.
Yeah, I mean, out where I live, there's a lot more Trump supporters.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
As you get further out from the urban areas, it becomes less Republican. It's just kind of...
Yeah.
But
I just think
anyway,
it's ironic that you don't like the term man cave, even though you're ensconced in your man cave right now.
I'm in my
talking to
office.
us.
It is my office.
Oh, is that what it is?
There are
It's his office.
5
Oh.
there are 5 laptops here, as well
Yes.
as the regular PC over my corner to my
Like
left.
most man caves have.
What does that have to do with anything? So you
In other
have a lot
words,
of
it's where I
computers?
work. It's my office. Yeah, that's what I call it, my office, not a man cave. And it's not a cave if it's all glass. My doors are glass, windows are glass.
This
Well,
is
I
usually
could
what mine
dive
looks
out
like.
this area. Yes, yours
Mine
is
is
more cave-like. I've got
Mine is totally cave.
Here, I'll just
My whole
move
apartment's
the
a man
camera.
cave.
See those? Those are skylights there. This is window there, right? Okay.
All I have is a
Behind
man
me
cave.
are glass
That's my
doors.
apartment.
Anyway, you are actually not even a man cave. You're just in a cave.
All right.
I'm
Wait a
in a-
minute.
no,
I think
a
we
boy
should.
cave.
I think we should think about, based on that market research of one that you did, Matt. How can we, kind of give these
Monetize
ladies,
this?
Well, no, give these ladies more of what they're looking for.
Well, Greg, strip.
No, well, we're not
That
doing the
could
video
help.
thing anyway. No, but if gaining insight into the male perspective is something, maybe there's something more we could do about that.
I think we've been doing it. We've just,
Yeah.
by us talking and giving our opinions, we're giving perspective into at least 3 males' insights.
Next week's topic is pornography for sure.
Uh,
That'll give insight.
I have no desire to delve into that.
But a lot of women find that a mysterious world that all men.
Really,
No.
a lot of women find that.
Yeah, they do, because they're
I don't
like.
think it's that mysterious, Greg. I think it just has to do with basic
You think?
human need to create new humans. I think that's where it comes from.
I actually don't think
Porno-
it has anything to do with
Yeah,
creating
pornography has
humans.
nothing to do with that.
Oh, it doesn't?
When I'm
No.
watching pornography, that's the last thing I'm thinking about.
I don't think anyone who's watching pornography is like, if I just had a kid, it'd be great.
Well, no, I think it's based upon the urge to do that, not the desire to do it.
Yes.
In other words, the bodies are designed to make new bodies. That's what bodies
No, I don't
are
want a
for.
baby coming out of this action. I just want to do it or fantasize about
Hey,
it.
but
but
you
I don't
wouldn't
want
be fantasizing about it if there wasn't that drive involved. Is my
How do you know? Maybe I would.
I know. Well, let me ask you this question. If there was no pleasure involved from the act of sex, right, it would be the
Yeah.
same as shaking somebody's hand for 10 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, but
And
that's a
how
moot point.
enjoyable is that?
That's not fun.
Exactly. That's when the whole point of the
But the other thing
desire,
is very
the
pleasurable.
pleasurable part of it is designed to cause people to create new bodies. That's why bodies are created that way, is to make it pleasurable so you want to keep doing it and make new bodies. You know, it's very simple. So all pornography
Yeah, because
does
I mean, personally, if there was no pleasure in it, the last thing that this world needs is more fucking bodies. Let's be honest.
is right. You know,
God damn it! I wish people would stop breeding.
That's one of my great
many people
contributions to
have, but
mankind,
many people won't.
is that I never bred. That's the only thing I could say on my deathbed. Like, I did a good thing in life. I did one good thing.
You didn't have children?
Yeah, I didn't contribute.
Okay.
You didn't add that other guy that's trying to make that left turn he shouldn't make in the middle
Exactly.
So you
Yeah.
were a friend to humanity. That's how we can end the show.
Yes.
Greg is a friend to humanity. He
Greg
did not,
Pettix, friend
did
of
not
humanity.
have children. All right. So who would like to have a final thought about something pithy or profound, some statement that wraps everything up and that gives people something to walk out on a good note? Who's got that in them this week? Now, clicking noises is not a statement.
I'm just by thinking.
You did humming you hummed last week.
Long days and pleasant nights.